From years of anxiety to warrior and mentor, Bradley Robinson created the Anxiety Project to help you end your anxiety naturally. Let's mold the new you and let's end anxiety together.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Anxiety Project podcast. Welcome to, I was going to say 200. And I was like, no, this is 301. I mean, we're in the 300s now, baby. Welcome. I'm Brad Robinson. Today, we have a Q&A. And I'm always excited to do these Q&As because you guys send in really awesome stuff. I have a question on habits and starting a habit, quitting the habit within 2 to 3 months, why people quit and not seeing the bigger picture. And then I have a question on meaning. How does one find meaning in their life? What does meaning even mean? And then I have a great question from Melanie. She says, when I was starting my relationship with Maggie, which I was, like, how did I manage the beginning of my anxiety recovery and working through everything I was working through while starting a relationship? So that's what's on today's episode. If you haven't already listened and meditated with me on Meditation Monday, go do that. I have a new meditation out this week on this podcast stream feed, I guess you can say is a better way of putting it. On this podcast feed, it's one of acceptance. So if you're finding yourself during the day stressed out, overly anxious, but most importantly at night, if you're not sleeping well, if you're waking up worried about bodily sensations the next day, not getting enough sleep, anxiety over sleep itself, I have a meditation on surrendering to the present moment. I highly recommend that you do this because it's based off of my experience when I would be up at 2 a.m. anxious about not sleeping and not functioning the next day. I would do this, I would do this exercise and let go of my trying to control like myself, trying to get myself to sleep, but letting go and accepting the moment. Miraculous things happen, and I was able to actually get sleep by doing this. So that's this week's meditation. Go check that out. Let me know what you think. And so let's start off this episode with a question from Jerome. He says, I've been a long time listener of the show. Well, thank you, Jerome. Thank you for everything. What would you say to someone who tries a seemingly positive habit like meditation or the gym for a couple months, but don't see a drastic change in their anxiety? I've stopped some of my practices because I wouldn't see results, but am I not doing them long enough? Well, Jerome, this is a common question that I get from people that I've coached personally. And I would say you're looking for light switch results. You're looking for something that's like, aha, I've found it. And a lot of the time, like, I personally believe life doesn't work that way. I think we make sacrifices today so that our future selves will thrive. Sometimes it takes someone a year, 2 years, 3 years. You have to be persistent because the results may not come for a while, but you have to engage in the habit in the spirit of, well, the mental hardening of these habits. For me, I'll tell you something, Jerome. For me, I did these things because I just wanted to do the opposite of what I was doing before. I didn't like myself. I had to come to terms with that. It was not a fun day for me to go, oh my God, I need to burn away so much of me. I just don't like who I am. I don't like what I've become. I'm destroying the relationships around me. I'm destroying my own health. I'm I'm just making the world an even more terrible place. And I didn't like who I was. And I had a lot of shame and I had a lot of guilt, especially the guilt that was built up over the many, many years. So for me, I knew that just by doing the opposite, that's just the answer. That was the answer. Everything else didn't work for me. It just didn't work for me. I think you're getting results, Jerome, and I'll tell you why. I meditated today and it wasn't perfect to say the least. Okay. I would sit there, close my eyes, I would fall asleep. I would get invested in certain thoughts. So I could say, well, it wasn't self evident that it helped me, but if I didn't do it, then I would have been worse off. It would have been a benefit to me to get myself to sit there for 10, 15, 20 minutes. Even if I'm starting to doze off, maybe if investing in all these thoughts, at least I'm giving my brain a chance and some space to actually look at what's going on in my head. Well, why am I getting invested in that thought? Maybe because I haven't been thinking about it, because I'm distracting myself all day. Well, yeah. So even though the brain was spinning like a roulette wheel, it's a great thing that I would just give myself that space. And you can easily say, well, it doesn't work for me. It's like, well, do it for a year and then get back to me, because you're going to have moments where you're going to wake up one day and you're going to have a meditation that you go, oh, you know, you're looking for a quick fix. Life doesn't work that way. If you're looking for a quick fix, go back to the drugs, medications, fast food, pornography. These are quick fixes. This is exactly what I wanted to get away from. I just wanted to have space in my life away from the cultural expectations. And I knew from these people I was looking up online, like Wim Hof, Russell Brand, Joe Rogan, man, the list goes on. Um, these people had strict disciplines, and I knew that if I was to change my personality, that meant act in accordance to their principles, their values. Okay. Okay. So you go to the gym for 2 months, right? How intense were the workouts? Maybe you're getting started, you're just half-assing it, and that's good. At least you're making the gym into a routine. There was a great passage in James Clear, I think it was his book, Atomic Habits. He would say, to get someone to go to the gym, it's really you have to think of the bigger picture. How do you get someone to go repeatedly throughout the week? Well, if someone is like at their lowest point, just tell them to show up there for 5 minutes and leave. Walk in the door, go on a machine for 5 minutes. If that's the bar you have to, you know, reach, then that's the bar. You have to go in for 5 minutes and leave. But go in there every day. Go in there every day. And that's the goal, to make it a habit. And so maybe you're saying that it's not working for me is a sign that the brain is bored. Maybe it's a sign that your brain doesn't want to level up, that it's comfortable. It's comfortable at the level you're at, right? You're going to the gym, you're doing a very light workout, you're kind of bored of it, you're not seeing much. So that's another possibility to why you're not seeing results. You're not putting in the time to do it. You have to up your game. The quality of your life is in proportion to the sacrifices that you make day to day. If you are stagnant in your life and you add a gym routine, is this not going to move you away from stagnancy? Of course it is. You're engaging in a habit that a lot of strong, mentally and physically fit people carry out day to day. So do it. Make it a part of who you are. But the gym is only a puzzle piece. This is another crucial thing. It's not wise to go to the gym and then eat a large pizza. The puzzle is a gym. Gym plus strict diet, plus meditation, plus cleaning the house, plus looking for a job, plus less YouTube, less video games. These things add up. If you're not getting the results, that means you're not making high quality sacrifices. You have to do that. I sound like Jordan Peterson, you know, make those high quality sacrifices. That's as simple as I can put it. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. You have to look closely at yourself, and then maybe you will see something you're clinging to that, if you're honest, you can admit is not serving you, and then you can let go of that thing. That's important. I talked about this a couple podcasts ago. I recommend that you listen to that because these are all interwoven together, all these podcasts. The characterization of chaos is the dragon or Mother Nature. The Queen of Hearts, she says when Alice goes down the rabbit hole into Wonderland, she says, the Queen of Hearts says, in my kingdom, you have to run as fast as you can just to stay in the same place. And we all know what that means is you have an apartment that you have to continuously maintain every day. I mean, I have a 2-month-old now, and just to maintain some sort of order in my apartment, I mean, oh my God, I have to work so damn hard just to keep up with the dust, the crumbs, the kitchen, the clothes. It's you have to run as fast as you can just to maintain a level of, what would you say, a level of normalcy or expectation, or there's a word there that I really want to nail. Standard. And so to stave off chaos, you have to make sacrifices. For me, I don't wean off my diet. Why? It's because I know the Brad in the future is going to suffer for that. It's not worth the 10, 15 minutes of that feel good gratification. It's just not worth it for me because I'm very sensitive to food, and I wake up the next day foggy minded and body aches, and I just don't feel at my best. I want to feel at my best. The next question comes from Mark. He says, Brad, where does one find meaning to their life when they are backed into a corner without any meaning? Thanks, Mark. That's a really good question. So the first thing I want to say is having values that don't lead you in circles. That's huge. values that support the continual unraveling of your better self across time. That's what I was talking about before. If you rely on alcohol to relieve stress, then you will have to keep up with your ever changing tolerance to the substance. You're solving the present snake, but not addressing the host of snakes that stretch outward into the future. You're going to have to confront them eventually. A lot of people drown themselves in unconscious behaviors. To be specific, alcohol is a good one. Drugs is a good one. Video games, TV, distraction. We want to forget about our responsibility, but it's so paradoxical, right? Because the responsibility is actually the one that's going to give you the meaning. Nietzsche says, if we have our own why in life, we shall get along with almost any how. Man does not strive for pleasure, only the Englishman does. So the first self-help book I think I bought was Man's Search for Meaning. And the reason I bought it was I saw meaning in the title. And I was like, I would like some of that meaning. That would be nice. The title is what struck me because I had no meaning in my life. I had none. And the reason I had no meaning was I was living on Pleasure Island like Pinocchio was. One of my favorite scenes in movie history. It's so symbolic. When Pinocchio's on Pleasure Island and all these delinquents. Well, it's so funny because the coachman, he sends them off there and it's a theme park and it's like you can have everything that you could ever want. That's what Dostoevsky mentioned in his book Notes from Underground. He said, if we just gave people everything they ever wanted, and that's perfectly represented in that image on Pleasure Island from Pinocchio, people would burn it to the ground just so something interesting could happen. And funnily enough, the little kids on Pleasure Island start to burn everything to the ground. It's like burning the ideal, right? They throw stuff through the church stained glass window. It's so symbolic. The sacred, the destruction of the sacred, the destruction of tradition. It's so easy to destroy. It takes 2 seconds, but to build something so beautiful takes unbelievable talent and a vision and dedication and persistence. You are the beautiful thing. You are that church. You are that creature. How do you expect to change if you could take a pill and you would wake up the next day a changed person? I mean, it doesn't feel worth it. You should be very afraid of unearned celebrity, unearned wisdom. That's a better way. I think that was Young that said that. Be very afraid of that. It's unearned. You have to earn it yourself. You have to prove to yourself that you're able to wake up at 5:30, 5 o'clock every single day. You have to prove to yourself that you can go to the gym. Or meditate or do these things. Like, to get yourself in order takes unbelievable strength and courage and bravery to kind of let go of those hedonic pursuits on Pleasure Island, to actually step back and jump from the island. Like Pinocchio, he jumps from the island into the ocean because he saw himself turning into a jackass. He saw Lampwick fully, transform himself into a jackass. And it's so funny because there's a moment where Lampwick picks up the cricket and he's like, who's this? It just shows you how devoid of his own conscience he really is. So when you're devoid of your own conscience and you remain in Pleasure Island, you turn into a braying jackass where a puppet master has complete control over you. Do you want that? That's culture, man. That's culture. That's like, this story is a meta truth. Peterson talks about that story all the time. It's a meta truth. there are many meta truths. You read the biblical stories, meta truths. Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, these are meta truths. They're works of fiction, but they're unbelievably true. They're unbelievably true. And you have to get off the ship. You have to get off Pleasure Island. You have to journey down into the ocean. And the ocean, as Carl Jung mentions, is the unconscious mind. There's more of the unconscious mind than you're running more from the unconscious mind than you are running from your consciousness. There's just so much lurking down in your unconscious that you can't even fathom. I mean, Jung talks about that in dreams, how we can formulate imagistic representations of what lurks in that unconscious mind. And the dreams do the best that they can to lay out complicated emotional situations that we've encountered, we're encountering in our lives. And the dreams do the best that they can to, well, kind of understand the things that we push away, that we repress, that we don't want to confront. And to confront, well, the meaning of these dreams is to become more whole in oneself, to become more whole. Wholeness is what Carl Jung would say. Wholeness, to be whole, is to confront not just the good side of yourself, because, a lot of the time you're just naive, but more so of, well, what's lurking in the darkness? What are you capable of? What are you doing to yourself? What are you doing to your family? What are you doing to the other people around you? And that was the thing I had to confront in my anxiety recovery was, well, yeah, what am I doing? And it's a terrifying thing to encounter, the encounter of the shadow. So the meaning came in my life when I decided to jump off of Pleasure Island and I decided to take on responsibility. Responsibility is what brings you meaning. So I took on the responsibility of my suffering and I said, well, all of these things that I'm clinging to, they're not helping me. So what do? I have to learn. And that's humility. You have to learn, you have to strip away all of your ego and all of your current presuppositions and follow somebody. So yeah, the meaning comes from responsibility. That means you adopt the cross bearer archetype and you have to drop the victimizer role. You have to carry your cross uphill. And the cross represents the point of maximal suffering. That's the point of maximal suffering. And we all look up to that image. Up. Why not down? When we say we look up to something, that means we're looking higher, towards something better, striving towards something, aiming towards something good, the image of who we could be. Like, if we can be the ones that can transcend suffering, what else is going to stop you? Because isn't that the worst pain, is to suffer unnecessarily? And every day I see people suffering unnecessarily. And I think, if you could change one thing, like that, and I can see what they could change. Like, if I'm like, if you could change that, man, man. So I think I'll leave it at that. Thanks for the great question, Mark. Melanie says, how did you manage the anxiety recovery while beginning your relationship with Maggie? What was it like? How supportive was she? So here's the thing about my recovery. I thought about many of these things I already mentioned about how, what am I doing to my family, my relationships, the people, the people around me, job. And then I thought, well, I want to focus in on me. I have to change me. I have to trust in myself. Because I remember I told my parents once in the car, I'm like, I don't trust you guys. And that was not true. What I was saying was, it was a Freudian slip, in the way that it was a reflection. It was like my shadow coming out. It's because I don't trust myself. That's why I said that, is because I just don't trust anybody, including me. That's a problem. That's a huge problem. So I I wanted to prove to myself that I could be faithful to Maggie by saying no to temptation. That was a big one for me. I had to learn to delete contacts that would, you know, entice me to contact a female and, you know, go and meet her and go on a date. I wanted attention. I wanted attention. And I hated myself for being unfaithful to her. So I had to prove to myself that I could do that. I can go days and weeks and months. So that was huge. And I was managing, and it was very, very difficult. I had to make extremely big sacrifices. One of them was um, letting go of pornography. That was something I was doing every day for a decade of my life. I was very much addicted to it. And I had to let that go because I knew that this was a monster that was enticing me into an avenue that was, what would you say, was, it was in light of the spirit that would make me unfaithful to my girlfriend, which she's now my wife. So I had to drop that. And so I had to be very self-centered. So she was very supportive. Um, I think she saw something in me. She saw something in me. She saw some change. I remember one time I told her, you know what, I'm going to stop eating carbs because we were having pizza, pasta so regular. We're eating out all the time. And I told her, well, we were driving one night, I feel horrible. I had pizza like 2 nights in a row, pasta. I have to make a change. And she was unbelievably supportive. She saw the difference going on a ketogenic diet it had on me. And I didn't even force her into it. I was just hoping that, she would accept it, right? That's it. And so she saw the change. She knew, she had this feeling that this was working, and that she even went on the diet as well. A lot of people don't want to change around other people who are doing well, they're on the same level, right? So you're at home and your dad's on the couch, kind of half in a daze, eating chips and watching Price is Right. And you decide one day to clean up your room, or you start to vacuum the house. And then, this is very common, the person will go, well, who do you think you are, hot shot? You know, and it's a very common thing. And it's funny because you're exposing their inadequacies by doing something remotely productive. And some people don't like that at all. Some people will try their best to push you back down to their level. And that's the thing about change. So Maggie was very supportive. I was very grateful for that. And there's always that risk of a partner not liking you changing, being different, taking a cold shower, waking up earlier, eating more cleanly, going to the gym, because it exposes their inadequacies. And some people respond to a challenge, but some people don't. I've lost friends because of that. I've lost friends because I decided to move up, and they've even told me, Brad, I liked you the way you used to be. And then I would tell them, I used to be an annoying, childish fool. You like that person? Hey, I know who you are. I know who you are. I'm not that person. I don't want to be that person. So to change who you are really is, you have to change. You have to really make some bloody big sacrifices in your life. You have to look at yourself and say, what am I doing every day? I have to be different. I have to be different. And that is one hell of a challenge. And I hope you embark on that one, because it's the biggest, well, for me, the biggest adventure of my life. It's taking me in all sorts of amazing directions, like sitting here with you and doing this podcast. And I think that's a great place to conclude this episode. Thank you, everyone, for being a supporter, being a listener. And let me know what you think of this one. Let me know. And if you have any questions, please leave your comments and questions below. You can also email me at unpluganxiety.com under contact. Or if you want to DM me on Instagram, you can do that. Let me know what you think. I would love to hear your guys' stories. And yeah, we're all part of this community. And that's what I've always wanted from the show. So thanks again. And make sure you go check out that meditation and all the other meditations I've posted, because they are damn good and they work, man. They work. So go check them out. Rise above anxiety. I'll see you next time. My anxiety recovery program is available over at unpluganxiety.com. Included is the releasing trauma exercise. This is where you can walk through and release past trauma using an NLP-based audio recording by myself. That's at unpluganxiety.com. Go there to learn more.